Excited to interview Kay today. Kay Newton it's our 2 year anniversary today. Can't believe it. 2 years has flown by. And Kay, I'm so excited to interview her because her dedication and her commitment to self and to the practice is mind blowing in the last 2 years. I'm just so inspired by how she shows up all the time and by how much she's achieved in this time. And Kay has her own amazing projects going on, which I'm also very inspired by. She has an incredible website, the founder of Sensibly Selfish. She's also published a book, Sensibly Selfish, which is all about midlife crisis and supporting us. Or I don't want to call it a crisis because it's not, is it? And that's what you prove. So I've been picking up a lot from you too in this time. And not just that, but she makes art out of plastic that she picks up on the beach in Cologne and has this amazing project to grow awareness about plastic on our beaches. And she makes these
He says, reaching over for one.
beautiful hearts. So I love Cologne. I love this. I really love this. It reminds me all the time. I love the colourful. I just love how you've taken something that is a big issue and made something so beautiful out of it, and how you're using your brilliant skills to help us with all this. So anyway, hey, hi.
Hi, thank you for having me, Saskia. It's lovely to be chatting again and telling you all my exciting stuff that's been going on. So yeah.
So I have three questions for you. And the first one is, especially since I've had this online system where I can see who's coming in all the time, you are top of the list. And I just love it because when I open my computer, I'm like, who's gonna be there? And I know that Kay's gonna be there, rain or shine. You are there 99.9% of the time. So why? What keeps you coming back?
I think that's a really good question. I think it's the constant learning. I love that you call it the practice. Yeah, and I think that really sums it up, because I think we are constantly learning, we are constantly changing. The only constant in the universe is change, and we're part of that change. And so what I love about the practice and the work that you do is every time I do a class, whether it's a repeat or whether it's something new, my body and myself learn something. So I come away from it going, yes, I've definitely strengthened in that area, or wow, there was a space there I didn't know existed, and I love that feeling. So all sorts of reasons why I come back, and I think it's that growth. It's a growth and an awareness that I really, really adore.
Yeah, it's been amazing witnessing your journey as well over the last 2 years. So you initially came to me because an osteopath had mentioned that your back issues, your problems, your back pain was to do with your fascia. And I think that's probably the first time you'd heard that word. And one of our common friends had put us in touch and said, "Oh, if you need to know about fascia, you need to meet Saskia."
That's right, yeah. And I didn't call it fascia, did I? What did I call it in the email? I called it packaging.
Packaging. I need packaging help, you said.
And I think that's how it was described to me at the time. I'd been going to massages and I'd been going to see the osteopath for, muscle and bone issues, because I had, real big problems with my back. And it wasn't until, my osteopath had said, actually, it's neither. It's not your bones, it's not your muscles or your ligaments and tendons. It's definitely your fascia. And I went, okay, so what's that? And so she said packaging, and of course I could remember that word when I left, but I couldn't remember the other word. So it was something new that I'd never met. And I think that's what's made it fascinating. I've been fascinated with fascia ever since.
It is a bit like that, isn't it? I remember when I first heard about it and felt it and realized its potential within me. That's it. I've been down that rabbit hole for, since 2015, the first time I heard that word. And so we've been on this journey together, uncovering and discovering our packaging. I love that term because it's such a great way of describing fascia or connective tissue, which is really coming up now in the public eye. So it's very exciting that people are discovering, we're all discovering these new spaces and this new potential within us. So how has your packaging and your back pain, your issues, how have they shifted in this time?
Yeah, they shifted in a huge way, and I think it's all to do with this awareness. So I probably use my body in a completely different way. I'm aware of where my strengths and weaknesses are and what I need to work on. You know that I love walking, and so I know that you also know that I hate my feet. You know that I have
You
a thing.
used to.
I
I think we'll
used
change
to.
that. You
We're
used to
changing
because
that.
you're becoming
Yes,
fascinated with
I'm
them.
becoming very fascinated with feet, and the realization that utilizing my feet, particularly my big toe, changes everything and works, and it works holistically together as a whole. But being able to
Yeah.
walk and focus on the feet and go, hang on a minute, that's leading to a change in your knees and your hips and all. That it's that old school song we used to learn, which I know you didn't know, but that everything's connected in the body. Makes a big difference.
Yeah, it is. It's all connected and it's all connecting through our packaging, fascia, connective tissue. It's incredible to realize these connections. So you're preparing to walk the Camino for the second time.
I am
I'm,
preparing. I'm crossing
I'm,
fingers that we can get it in this autumn. That would be really, really good.
I'm really excited for you to do that. And I've been witnessing as well how your walking has been increasing and increasing and increasing. And it seems to be becoming more and more of a breeze. Is that
It's different, isn't it? And this is why I keep coming back as well, because every time, we know that everything we do is different every day. So I can walk the same path up the mountain, and some days I find it harder than others. But if I look at the clock, I'm walking quicker, I'm walking stronger than when I first started. We've been here in the village 4 years, so I've been walking up our little mountain here for 4 years. I think it's at least 15 minutes quicker than it used to be. So yeah,
wow?
there's a big difference.
15 minutes on how long's the whole walk?
It's a 55-minute walk, according to
So
I
more
can
over 25%, like 30% faster.
yeah, and that's not
Wow.
running. That's just I feel a lot stronger. It's different. My body is not look. I don't know how to describe it. It's lighter. Not is a little bit lighter in kilos as well. I've dropped some kilos, but it's not that. It's the lightness in the way I walk. It's a different way of walking.
Yeah, because if we're not aware, what I've noticed is that a lot of us are only aware of gravity, and so we're very aware of the pull down. And so one of the things that you were sharing with Joan, another practitioner who's also discovering her feet and having these amazing shifts within herself, you were sharing with her how your walking has changed, and you realized the other day the connection all the way from your big toe up to your head.
Definitely. So I found myself walking out the village and looking at the floor and thinking, hang on a minute, what's happening here? So connecting to the toes all the way up, making sure my knees are strong, that my hips are back, and then of course this lifting of the head, but not lifting of the head, but lifting of the head of the chin, keeping the ears back,
sliding the head back.
Which
Yeah,
then
because when the head is
the shoulders and the back, and then you can breathe better, and then all of a
exactly, so it's
sudden,
all connected,
and
then
the
it feels
walking becomes so lighter. In fact, the boots had space in them as well, which was just so funny. But definitely, even my big toe had space around it because of the way I'd moved my body. So
yeah, and so it's this internal awareness.
Yeah, big, huge. Yeah.
Yeah, so what we work with in the practice is how to bring our minds into our bodies so that we're less out there, but we're more in here, and not just being aware of where we are in space, but how we're holding ourselves in space. And so through this practice, you're developing this deeper awareness of how you're walking, how you're holding yourself. And when it feels heavy, you're like, hang on a minute, why does it feel
Yeah,
heavy? I can self adjust and I know what to do in order to make it feel lighter.
yeah.
Um, and one of the things I love is that we've got no final destination.
I love that as well. You know, it's a constant learning, isn't it? Which I think, you know, that is what life's all about. You know, it's not right that we should think that we're going to do a course, learn it, and walk away from it. It's not, because our bodies are constantly changing. So that space is constantly changing. And once we're aware of that, it makes such a big difference, total difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pathway within. And I was listening to Joe Dispenza yesterday and how, in his meditations, he brings a lot of focus on just that, us being aware of our space within space, because that's the world we can change.
Yes.
This really is the world we can change. And we're trying to change the world out there without having effect on the world in here, which is really where we do have the power to shift.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Exciting
Well,
stuff, isn't it?
it is. It
What
is
other
exciting
questions have you
stuff.
got for me?
Well, you had some words you wanted to share. What were they?
Yeah, no, I just think something that's come out of the practice for me, you know, we've talked about space, and I think it's such a big word. So being able to do practice and all of a sudden realize that there's a space in the ankle joint, or there's a space behind the knee joint, or there's a space I still have to find underneath my armpits, which I know will exist at some point, but I've still not got there. You know, I find this really exciting. So space is a big word for me. And the fact that we can do the practice within our own space.
Mm.
So I think this is really good for me as well. You know, the convenience of being able to stay at home, but connect on Zoom like we're connecting now. With the community as well, you know, that I'm not doing this on my own, although I'm in my own space. So, you know, I can practice here, but no, there's a group of like-minded people who are also practicing and joining in.
Yeah, and who are on the same journey and
Yeah,
sharing these little. I know how relieved you always feel when you hear somebody who's further down the line than you say, "Oh yeah, I'm still struggling with that," and you're like, "Oh God, thank God, it's not just me."
you know, just a
Uh,
slight word of, I find myself going, ee. I think that was it Birgit the other day?
Britta.
Britta who said that the other day. Britta said, you know, I find myself going, ee, and I thought, oh yeah, thank goodness. You know, because I'm still at
Yeah.
that E stage. I haven't got into the flow stage yet, but you know, I know it will come, which is fabulous.
Yeah, and then you've got, my uncle who's newer to the practice, and and you're able to kind of help him along because you're further down the line, and it's
Yeah,
it's a really
when
beautiful
Sam, for
community.
example, said, you know, is it right that, you know, I should be feeling a little bit of stiffness and tightness and a little bit of pain in my lower back? Yeah, welcome to the club, but it'll
Yeah,
go, you know.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a fabulous group of people, really very,
it is
very
such a
special.
beautiful core we've got all over the
Yeah,
world, and we get to connect and share our practice and share these glimpses into our internal spaces and also into our virtual
yeah,
spaces, and we get to share this journey of self-discovery and exploring the space within. I remember that article you wrote, which was referring to, was it a Star Trek quote?
yeah.
Yeah.
Final frontier space.
Yeah,
It is, isn't it?
it really
It's the
is.
final frontier, it really is.
It really
Yeah,
is. Well, I love sharing this journey with you, and I love seeing your growth and witnessing how the physical practice that we do, which is really, there's so much focus on the body, but as you know, it's all connected, and the work we do on the body affects our mindset and it affects our emotions and how everything connects. And what I'm really fascinated by is witnessing how the physical work we do has an impact and effect on all areas of our lives. And so I'm loving watching how, as you're bringing your body together, I've also noticed that you're bringing all your work together, in your
It's
presentation.
amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, it is. And so through ourselves, through our internal space, we get to really affect all areas of our lives. And that's where my fascination lies. So I'm loving seeing how that's coming through you. And at 2 years is really, actually, it's a big day today, your 2 year mark, because with all the hundreds and maybe thousands of practitioners that there are now within this practice of exploring tensegrity, tension with integrity within our bodies. What we realized is that it takes about 2 years of being aware of what is fascia, what is packaging, how do I connect to this, this, what's the word I'm looking for? This cellular matrix webbing that my brain is connected to through sensorially, and it takes 2 years to create that awareness of all the different pieces of the puzzle. And you remember that game we used to play, or that drawing we used to do when we were kids. One of the first things we did was connect the dots to create the full. And that's what we're doing, literally, is we are finding the dots, finding those spaces, that space in your ankle, that space in your knee, that space in your big toe, and then able to create the connection of the whole. And the 2 year mark, which is your today, is when you finally get that full picture and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, there's a potential to connect all the dots.
Fine. That's exciting, isn't it? I don't know if I've got to connecting all the dots, but I'll tell you tomorrow.
Well, there's glimpses, isn't it? There's moments. There's moments where the pin drops and it's like, oh, it's lighter.
Yes.
When it's lighter, that is the moment when you have connected various dots.
Yeah.
Because one dot one dot shifts the body mechanics, but it doesn't make the lightness. What makes the lightness is when you start creating the wholeness, and the wholeness is the connection of all the dots.
So we're about to start another level of the game, which is just absolutely fabulous, isn't it?
It's nuts, and it's never ending. I'm what, 8 years down the line, and I'm like, literally, I'm tripping out with my feet at the moment. I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, wait, pause, stop. What? There's more? And how that shifts things in my ankles, my knees, my hips, and then all the way up the spine.
Yeah, no, it is. It's fascinating.
Really, from the feet, we can affect everything, and I love sharing my. Thank you for being open. I must say I'm so grateful, because I remember, I'll never forget that first time that I realized you had a bit of a foot. I was like, oh God, how's this going to go? And actually, you're right there with me. You're like, oh, hang on a minute, where, what, how?
Yeah, I still don't like other people touching my feet, but I'm getting there.
But you're fascinated with your own feet, and that's a big step.
I am absolutely fascinated, and I think it's such a travesty, really, that, we were talking about this before we started recording, that we think of foot binding in China as being past, that we are no longer so silly to be doing that. But yet when you look at the shoes on the shelves and, the modern fashion and what people are wearing, we are still foot binding. And until we stop that and realize the damage we're doing to our whole body, and I remember working in retail, as a junior manager, and having to wear high heels. And the further you got up the managerial scale, the higher your heels got, which was just stupid. But then you think, when you get to our age, you think, well, no wonder my body has suffered. No wonder because I did that damage to my feet.
But a lot of people don't make the connection yet, and that's what's blowing my mind, is that, and it's taken me a while to realize. It took me a long time, actually, to get rid of nearly all my shoes that weren't barefoot. I've got one pair left that I'm really struggling with, which is an antique pair of cowboy boots that I bought on a road trip that means a lot. And it was a moment in Bend, Oregon, where I saw one of the most spectacular sunsets of my life. and I bought these, black leather cowboy boots. But I mean, they're literally just going to have to be decoration and also
Yeah.
proof that foot binding still exists, because
Yeah.
I remember when I used to wear them out in San Francisco for a night partying, I couldn't wait to get home and get my shoes off. And it never even struck me. And I think of all the people that can't wait to get home and take their shoes off, and they don't make that connection then
No, we don't.
between the foot pain and what that's causing all the way up the
All the way,
chain.
yeah.
So yeah, and I now, as you know, I can't, I'm going to a wedding this weekend, and last night I was up in bed thinking,
What am I
how am
going
I
to
going to
wear?
wear that beautiful silk skirt? And I'm going to stand up and read in front of everyone with my rope, with my little tiny rope, barefoot. Yeah, and I'm like, but maybe I'll just go barefoot. That will probably look better. But yeah, the foot binding still exists, and it's quite shocking how long it takes us to make that connection. Because the people who design shoes have no idea about posture or no idea of the effect of feet to ankle to knee to hip to spine. And foot binding still exists.
It does.
The bunions are a result of the foot, of the shape of the shoes. People still think that the bone is a growth. Bones don't grow when you're an adult. It's literally the toes that are going that way, and the bone hasn't moved, hasn't grown. It's just sticking out because the toes have been pulled that way, because all the muscles have been shortened and tightened, because the shape of the shoe is pointy and the shape of the foot is not pointy. So yeah, making those connections, because I think you've switched over to barefoot now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been walking in barefoot boots now for at least, well, since the last, so April, at least 18 months.
Wow.
So
And
yeah,
you've noticed that your feet are changing shape as well.
now my feet are changing shape again. So interesting times ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to get a bigger size trainer.
Mm.
My zero shoes were too small, and my toes weren't able to spread. So and you notice that, whereas growing up, I didn't notice that. My toes would scrunch, and
Yeah.
I would just be like, oh, I'll just wear them for as long as I can with
I
scrunched toes.
I thought individual toe socks were the most weirdest thing out there, a real gimmick, until I bought some last week and walked in them for the first
I've
time.
just bought some
And
too.
they're just so gorgeous to wear. So
Yeah.
comfy. It's like, why have I never found these before? So everybody should.
Well, we wouldn't dare to do that to
Yeah.
our hands. We wouldn't dare tie our fingers into a pointy shape, and then have them like this. But for some reason, we think that not being able to move our toes or spread our toes is natural. But this is the equivalent in the hand. That is it. What use is this? I mean, I can't do anything with this. I need to be able to do this. And we're on a journey to be able to do that with our feet, which is very exciting, because bringing that together with the tensegrity, with the model of um, creating a fully three-dimensionally toned packaging bodysuit. It creates just a mind-blowing amount of lightness that we haven't even explored yet. So it's very exciting. It's a never-ending journey.
Yes, it's an
And
amazing journey to be on. Thank you so much, Saskia.
it is. Thank you for being
Very,
part of it.
very special.
I love sharing it with you, but I especially love seeing how it changes everything.
No, it has.
Um,
It's changed everything in a big way. It's a huge shift.
yeah, it
So
is. So
bring
thank
on
you for being part of it.
the next part.
Yes, the next 2 years. We'll do another check-in in another 2 years.
Perfect.
All right. Well, enjoy walking the Camino. Best of luck every step of the way. Keep your posture up as much as you can. It will support you. It will help you. And yeah, thanks for doing this interview.
My pleasure.